I'm gonna mix this entire song with just 12 plugins. This is a full live mix. You're gonna see everything it takes to turn this a better version of into this a better version of. But here's the twist. Did you know that there are 11.4 thousand plugins available on KVR Audio's website at the time I shot this video? And that's just what's listed under the newest plugins category. So today, we're gonna simplify things. Limiting yourself to a few simple, fundamental tools can be a great way to eliminate overwhelm and highlight any weak links in your mixing process. So here are the 12 plugins we're gonna use for this mix. A gain plugin, an EQ, a saturation plugin, a limiter, a compressor, a clipper, track spacer, a de-esser, reverb, delay, referencing plugin, and a frequency analyzer. Let's jump in. Cool. This is a track by one of our students, Terrence Farrell. It's called A Better Version of Me. I went ahead and set this thing up. I'll go ahead and walk you through it just so you get a nice lay of the land here. We've got 66 tracks. I've condensed them to 6 buses. So bus number 1 is drums. We've got our bass, 2 bass tracks sent to a bass bus. We've got keys, so pretty much everything else. Lead vocals. This houses our verse vocal, chorus lead, our rap vocals, and all doubles and stacks and ad-libs. And then we've got backing vocals, and then we've got wet effects. I've got a short and a long verb for my drums. I've got a short and a long verb for instruments, and then I've got short, long verb for vocals, and a short and long delay for vocals. And that is the lay of the land. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna gain stage, and then we're gonna get a volume balance. Select all these tracks. This is the easy way. This is a shortcut to gain staging, okay? I'm gonna go to normalize region gain. Individual regions, peaking no higher than -10 decibels. Apply. And that automatically brings all these signals up so that they're peaking no higher than 10 decibels. I don't have to worry about them getting any higher than that point. All right. So now I'm gain staged. I'm gonna go through and select all these tracks, bring all the faders down to 0, and start bringing things in one by one. I usually like to start with percussion, so we're gonna start there. These kicks are in stereo. One of them's leaning a little to the left, the other one to the right. I'm actually gonna put those into mono. Just a little bit more focused, more impact. Let's get some claps in there. 3 clap layers. Kind of a bright, tight one. Looser, more human one. And then a glitch. Getting the back and forth right on the kick and snare, or kick and clap, is really important. All right, let's keep it there for now. Got a hi-hat. All right, and then we've got some of these other kind of like djembes and stuff like that. Kick's pretty thumpy. I'm just gonna take a quick note here to address that later with some EQ. Let's bring in some of these other elements. Gonna have to manage those relationships quite a bit in the low end. All right, bring in some more of this stuff. Do a little glitch effect. Let's grab some of these effects right here. I do like to focus on how parts kind of transition into each other's sections, from verses to choruses, to pre-choruses, things like that, just to hear how things enter and exit the arrangement. Nice little change up there for the bridge. Cool. Happy with that drum balance for now. Might tweak some things in a little bit. We'll come back to bass later. Keys. There's nothing worse than like having an intro that's so low, and then all of a sudden the kick and the clap just slam in, not in a pleasant, impactful way, but in a way that's super annoying, where it forces the listener to reach for their volume knob and turn it down, right? So getting a good balance, especially within the first sounds that are heard in the beginning of the song, super important. For me, that means turning these claps down a little bit or turning these up. Let's do that instead. There it is. So I'm actually gonna mark that, call that a break. And this is the intro. So that's verse 1. Call this verse 1B. So new elements kind of enter the arrangement at that point after the first 8 bars. So I'm just labeling that out. Quite a bit of information just kind of like coming into play here in the chorus, verse 1. And we're gonna start bringing in those elements. Let's get these bass stabs in there. Sick. Nice big fat brass stabs, I love them. Call and response between the prophet and the brass stabs. Let's see what this dread lead is. So this is more atmospheric. Nice space and width, just adding some texture, some motion into this brass stab. Let's hit up these strings. So that's in response. So I'm actually going to put that next to prophet. Let's hit up this ascension track. Ah, there's our dance chops. Sick. That's the thing that I'm gonna kind of prioritize because it creates a lot of movement, right? It's very percussive, and that's what we want to do with this track, right? Create a lot of movement, a lot of danceability. That's kind of the emotion, right? Cool. Love it. Orchestral stabs, synth accents, those don't come in till later. So just adding a little bit more top end to these brass stabs. Right, a little bit more of that tickly high-end content. So I'm gonna cut that off just to ramp the energy up and then abruptly cut it off. Cool. We're gonna continue to kind of tighten this up as we make our way through. Let's start to bring in the bass. Let's bring in those 808s. Let's hear how those kind of enter over there. Let's see where those are sitting. So the attack a little bit up here, but the body of those 808 toms right here, same spot. Bass, kicks, and 808s all hitting in the same area. All right, something to keep in mind. Cool. What I'm gonna do here is a little bit of automation on the keys bus. Our first plugin, the gain plugin. Simple gain plugin. All right. Reason I like to do some volume automation using a plugin rather than the fader is I still will have like static control over this fader if I need it, right? It won't just go like snapping up and down and up and down and up and down or anything like that. Instead, all the automation is going to be done within this plugin. And we'll go ahead and write in some automation just on that hook. Popping that up a decibel and a half maybe. See what one sounds like. Nice, just bring that to the forefront a little bit. I like where that's sitting. We're gonna do the same thing over here, this second chorus. Pop it up. Sweet. Be cool to have these panned out a little bit. Let's do like, I don't know, let's do a hard pan. Why not? Get this glitch effect over here. Now let's do 50%, 50-50. We'll pan this other djembe to the left. So now we kind of got that dancing back and forth. In case you haven't noticed, I keep soloing that kick. The kick's really bothering me, so I gotta, we're gonna have to rein that in first when we get to frequencies dynamics management. So I'm gonna play with this a little bit. I'm gonna chop off the tail end of this bridge beat to see if we can't create a bigger impact when we get to the chorus. Honestly, I think that ascension is the key. It's something about that high-end energy that is elevating the whole excitement level of that chorus. Sweet. Awesome. That's instruments. I'm feeling pretty good about that so far. We'll dig a little bit deeper with those things as we kind of move forward. Let's bring some vocals in.
I got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
Let's bring in these vocal octaves here.
Now mistakes are in a different light.
High octaves.
Not afraid, got nothing to lose.
We're gonna swing those out left and right.
Not afraid, got nothing to lose.
So don't worry, we're gonna address dynamics on these in a little bit.
Took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
All right, we got some ad-libs down
Another year, read some books, approach. Oh yeah. Now
Just gonna write a note here to add like a bunch of reverb to that. This double, I'm actually gonna widen that up. So here are our plugins right here. These are the only ones I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use a delay to widen up this double. Take one side, 0.1 millisecond, and then the other side, do about, oh, I don't know, about there, 30 milliseconds, something like that.
mistakes are in a
Turn off ping pong mode. So what I've done here is I've separated the left channel from the right channel. The left channel, I'm just delaying at the lowest possible delay rate time. And then on the right channel, I'm delaying by about, 30 to 40 milliseconds, something like that. Just kind of play around with this for tightness. Hear the difference there?
got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
I like to widen up these doubles like that because I don't want to clutter up the center. It's just a little bit of a different kind of texture. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to use the filters to bring down the S's and the T's, the sibilants. It's kind of bothering me in the side. So I'm going to take down kind of some of the high end here. So we kind of get that width, that widening effect without all the annoying S's and T's.
Yeah. Read some books, took some notes.
All right, so I'm rolling it off to about 8K, and it's the same thing as doing something like this on an EQ, right? It's just built directly into the plugin. I think that high vocal is just kind of like jamming things up in the center, so I'm gonna take that out completely and just use the sides.
Not afraid, got
nothing to lose.
Let's start bringing in these chorus vocals. So we've got this stack. I'm gonna hard pan these left and right.
A better version of me. I'm gonna be a better version of me.
Again, don't worry guys, we're gonna address all this stuff, all the dynamics, any kind of frequency stuff that you're hearing, lack of impact, all of that. Let's start to bring in some of these vocals, these backing vocals also. Let's just do this the easy way. What I'm gonna do here is I'm going to split these up. I'm gonna take these out of the backing vocals bus, and I'm gonna give the whispers their own bus. It's just gonna be easier to process them that way. Whispers. Cool. Bit of a different color. Fine. Fine.
A better version of me. A better version of me. Better version. A better version of me.
I think this one has a better energy to it, so I'm gonna put that in the center, and then I'm gonna swing everything else left and right. Get these harmonies in there.
There's a feeling like none on earth when you receive the fruit of hard work. Unstoppable, made up mind, new goals, brand new drive.
Let's get it.
Better version regardless of all the hardships that surface. Focus, build strength and endurance. Feeling pressure, you're a diamond, it's worth it.
Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing with this rap ad lib here, but I'm gonna swing sides, so opposite side. I'm gonna do the same thing with this ad lib again, you know, just widen it up a little bit. Again, I'm gonna switch sides. So we've got one ad lib kind of leaning to the left, the other one kind of leaning to the right, but both out of the center.
This word don't lie. I know it gets hard sometimes, but the word needs you to say yes to your assignment. Here.
A better version of me. A better version of me.
Okay, a lot of work needs to be done on these vocals. Just want to take a look at this lead here in terms of dynamics. So we've got all these pretty significant transients, right? These spikes here.
Got too friendly with my fears.
Cool. So we're just going to take care of some of this stuff, some of these dynamics issues now with volume before we move into frequencies and dynamics. All right. So we're going to smooth some of this lead vocal out. I'm going to pay a lot of attention to the detail of this vocal, kind of where it's sitting in terms of volume, in terms of dynamic fluctuations, things like that. And I'm going to identify some problem areas. I'm also going to identify some enhancement areas. I think all the other vocals are fine, but this one in particular is going to need some additional attention simply because it's the most exposed. Let's take a look.
Got too friendly.
I mean, I'm going to get real nitpicky here. Get on a super deep level and level this out with some clip gain.
Got too friendly.
Got to, right? So we can actually.
Got too friendly.
So all I'm doing is going to be bringing up and down the amplitude of this signal.
Got too friendly. Got too friendly.
Just level it out a little bit so the compressor works a little bit easier once we add that later in the mix.
Got too friendly.
Got too friendly. Right? Now we can hear that. Check this out. So before, it's like this.
Got too friendly.
We're losing the word to and we're losing the li on friendly. But once we address those issues with clip gain automation,
got too friendly.
you can hear all those words perfectly, right? And we're gonna level them out even more with dynamics processing down the line. Let's keep going. So what I'm gonna do here, because I'm losing kind of like the tail end of that, is I'm gonna add some automation here. And I'm gonna use a gain plugin to just bring up the tail, like gradually bring up the tail. Can't do that with clip gain, right? Chopping out the clip, right? I just want a gradual slope happening there. Let's listen.
With my fears.
Fears, right? Just grabbing the tail end of that word and bringing out a lot of that detail. Let's keep leveling this out here.
It held me back.
I know there's a K in back.
It held me back. It held me back.
There it is. Don't worry, we're gonna crossfade all this stuff so it's nice and smooth later.
Living life with nothing to prove.
I want the V.
Prove.
So we're gonna bring this up.
Prove.
There.
Thing to prove.
Let's take a listen to this whole part.
I got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach. Now mistakes are in a different light. Being wrong helps me get it right. Not afraid, got nothing to lose.
I like where that whole verse is sitting. Super sick. Let's crossfade it. Check our work.
Got too friendly with my fears.
And we'll just kind of do that process one more time with this second verse. Crossfade it. Hear the difference here? Check this out.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
Versus.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
That vocal is right up front now, right? Words aren't getting buried in the mix. Words aren't peeking up through the mix. There are tools that will do this for you, like Vocal Rider from Waves. I prefer to do it manually because, as you saw, I like to kind of get really detailed with what tails of the words I like to bring up. I like to get really detailed with S's and F's and other consonants. I just like to have that kind of control, and it's very much a case-by-case basis that you can't run through an algorithm. Now, before we jump into drums, let's take a listen to a few references. I pulled in just a few top 40 references here, just so we know that we're on the right track. Now, I'm not looking for precision here. I'm just kind of looking for ballpark, and obviously dynamics and frequencies there's gonna be an obvious difference there between our track and our references, but right now I'm really just kind of listening for kick, snare, and vocal balance. Kick, snare, and vocal balance. Okay, so just volume levels.
You're gonna see a better version of me. Oh, the misery. Everybody wants to be my enemy.
So the obvious kind of like high end dip, right? These are things that I'm taking mental note of and that we'll address later. Just listening for kick, snare, and vocal balance.
Down to the rhythm that you play with. A better version that I can't get you out. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away and I'll show you. I've got the move.
Yeah, that Maroon 5 song, not really a lot of low end in that mix.
Just meet me in the middle.
Yeah, so I'd say just volume balance wise, that this is kind of sitting in the ballpark with the rest of these songs. Again, obviously we still got frequencies to take care of. We still got dynamics to take care of, spatial processing, things like that. So now that we know that we're just kind of in the ballpark and we're heading in the right direction, we can tackle some of these things. I'm gonna deep dive on these drums, get these sitting and feeling really, really nice. Starting with the kick. These two are gonna be blended and then they're never gonna move. So I'm actually gonna bounce them together to create one like master kick track. I'm gonna bring that down, bounce these two together, committed to the blend of that sound, and just gonna delete them. If you're not comfortable with deleting things, you can always just mute them and hide them in the background. I prefer to just commit and move forward. All right, now we can address that. I think probably just gonna bring that down. That low end was a little thumpy. Let's tighten it up a little bit more here. All right, there's this couple gross frequencies that I want to get rid of. Right there. We could clear that up. There's another kind of like honky kind of frequency that I'm hearing that I want to get rid of. Right there. Cool. Let's tighten that up even more. So I'm going to use some slow attack compression here to get this kick to just kind of punch through and really kind of exaggerate the transient and turn down the sustain. So we're going to use slow attack. I'm going to use a fast release and dial that in. So a shorter, quicker, less kind of like thumpy, like loose kind of kick drum. Just level match. It's much punchier, much tighter. Let's clear up some like unnecessary low end energy here, right around 30-ish. Let's clip this thing. So right now we're hitting it minus 15.9. Let's see how much headroom we can save with some clipping. You know, you clip too far, it's gonna saturate like that. I don't want to clip too much. You can hear some of the body of the kick drum kind of getting soaked up. There's a sweet spot to be had here that I'm just looking for. I think that's it right there. All right, so the reason I like to use clippers is they're a great way to just kind of put a roof on the dynamics on the peak of the signal without sacrificing the punch, right? Because it literally just chops off the peak of the signal. See down here, anything that's in the red is getting chopped off by the clipper sealing. If we take a look at this meter, we're peaking at minus 17. Without the clipper, we're peaking at minus 15.9. So a couple decibels of headroom there. Moving on. So we have all these different clap tracks. They are stacks and I like the blend. So I'm gonna do the same thing with these claps that we did with the kick. Bounce them all together. And I'm gonna just zap the original tracks. I wanna do the same thing here with compression. Slow attack, just to kind of get those claps poking through the mix a little bit more, punching through. So So allowing the transient to hit before the compressor clamps down on the signal and turns down the back half. I like where that's sitting. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna manage those dynamics with some clipping. No audible difference there, and we're saving what? Four decibels of headroom. So something else I'm hearing here is this perk loop. Low end there is getting in the way of the kick drum, kind of tripping that up. Clean up some of the sonic energy in the lows. This kick accent here, too heavy. Woof. All right, let's check it out on the analyzer. That kick accent. Watch over here. Ah, good stuff. So let's just bring that down a bit. I think what we're gonna do is just kind of soften that a touch. Kind of take down the low end. And it would be cool to get the high end of that kind of spread out to the sides. I'm gonna do a bit of a trick here. So we've got kick accents low, and then I'm gonna split that and say kick accents high. And on the low track, I'm gonna filter out all the highs. So it's just the low frequencies coming through. And then on the highs, I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm just gonna get those highs coming through. A little bit of mid-range. I kind of like that, a little bit of that knocky kind of 400 coming through here. Yep, that's fine. I'm gonna spread those highs, those mid-range frequencies, those high frequencies out to the sides. I'm gonna delay one side just a touch. The other side, oh, around there. Usually between 20 and 40. This will work really well. It's just a single feedback. Everything else looking good. I'm gonna roll off the lows to about 400 so it's not too beefy. And let's hear what that sounds like. That's it. That's what I was looking for. Hear the difference? The center, and then with the staggered stereo delay, this is a Haas effect. Right, spreads it out to the sides. So now we have something like this. The lows stay in the middle, the mids and the highs and the sides are nice and wide. Anytime that impact hits, pop, 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 pop. Right, nice and big. Could actually turn that up a little bit. Cool. Let's take a listen to just all the kicks. Nice. Anything else in this main groove that we're missing that's kind of catching my ear? I'm going to do a listen through. Cool. Very cool. Let's process the bus a little bit. Add a little bit of flavor. A little bit of seasoning with some saturation. This is a great saturation plugin if you're just trying to get your feet wet. With saturation, get it? Anyway, tube is going to be a little bit more kind of like aggressive, brighter on the high end. Tape is going to be a little bit warmer, a little bit vibier. Right, just different flavors of saturation. Two different flavors, you get to choose. You can mix them both if you want to. I think probably just a little bit of tape here, just to vibe things up. Of course, we want a level match. Free plugin, by the way, at bedroomproducersblog.com. incredible for just like really wrapping your brain around saturation. Cool. I like the way that is sitting. And then maybe we do a little bit of compression, just to bring out like energy, excitement. Thinking parallel compression, so that's gonna be a fast attack compression. I'm just gonna crank it. Just fastest attack, fastest release. And like just dial in a ton. So we're seeing that needle really swing. Here we go. This is a game of subtlety right now when we're processing the drum bus. And it's a game of preference and it's a game of taste. I'm really just making decisions right now based on what I like, what my personal preferences are, what's kind of working for me for the track. Just getting a general vibe here. So I'm using the mix knob to blend the wet and the dry signal. I'm at about 16% of heavy compression. All those little clicks and clacks and glitch sounds and the hi-hat, they're all kind of coming forward, the forefront of the mix. And we're gonna top it all off with some more clipping. Yay. We are peaking at about -14. Let's put a roof on it. Let's take a listen. Before and after. First before. Nice and tight. I think there's some opportunity here. I do want to pull this hi-hat down just a touch in some of these gross frequency areas. Just gonna clear that out. And just a couple spatial processing moves I want to make here. First, this perk loop, a short reverb, right? Preemptively add some EQ here just to roll off any unnecessary lows. Chances are I'm gonna have to kind of manage the high end on the tone of the reverb coming through. So I'm just gonna blend this in. That's where we're gonna add some space. Just kind of set it back in the mix. Hear the difference? Right, starting to just take this this percussion section and go like this, and stretch it out along the Z-axis. Let's manage the high end of that. I'm just tone shaping the reverb a little bit with some EQ, making that reverb sound a little less slappy in the high end. Let's do some space on these claps. Let's do like a long, kind of gooey kind of reverb here. All right, that's kind of what I'm thinking. That high end is out of control though, so we're gonna tone shape that. And let's mess with the decay on that one a little bit. So I'm listening for the reverb to die out just as the next clap hit happens. So let's kind of like just crank this up a touch. And we've got some pre-delay happening here too, which separates the reverb. It's basically the attack time for reverb. It says, reverb, wait for this amount of milliseconds before you activate. So I'm gonna say wait for 80 milliseconds before you actually spit out the reverb sound. Yeah, and the pre-delay being there keeps those claps nice and up front in the mix without getting kind of like pushed back. Let's listen to those with and without reverb. Now in context, first without. Yeah, these drums are sounding alive. All right, let's start bringing in these keys. Yes, so from this melodic wood track, we've got some build-up happening. Just cleaning up the low end here. And there's just a couple of very specific frequencies that are bothering me on this track. Let's clean that up. That one. So there's one just under 10K and then there's one just over 10K. I think the one that's over 10K is bothering me the most, so we're gonna that. I think this is the one that offends me the most. It's offensive. Now let's kind of back some of these off so they're not as aggressive. Here we go. So just taking out the rumble there. Okay, a lot of cleanup to do there. Kind of squishy sounding, right? Let's clean up the low end first. I'm gonna do this in context so we can see how much we can get away with. Tightening things up here, man. Awesome. Ah. Look at that. Check out all of that. Right? We don't need that. Bass is going to be taking that area. Some of these other chords and other instruments are going to be taking that area. It's all about prioritizing and kind of compromising and getting these puzzle pieces to fit, right? So let's do this in context, see if we can't get away with scooping a whole bunch of that low end out. Listening to this track right here, the lead. Think about it. What's useful in this track? What's useful to us? What is this lead really contributing to the overall song? It's that kind of like abrasive, right? That upper end of things, high end, upper mids, and this atmosphere, this kind of space, and this reverb that's been baked into the track, right? So that's not really doing anything for us down in this area, right? It's just kind of clogging things up. So let's just focus on what that's really contributing musically to the track, right? The mids, the upper mids, that nice wide kind of reverb, the texture, not the rumble. And then I just raise the volume of that just a little bit, because once we cut out all of this sonic energy, it becomes quieter, right? So we're rebalancing just a touch. Let that poke through a little bit. And it's important to understand that this isn't a main element, right? We don't want to go rabbit holing and like really trying to make this attention grabbing, right? It's there for texture and it's there for atmosphere. So we're going to treat it as such. Right, just those two elements. Without. Yeah, cool. They sound nice and big with all that low end in there, but you have to remember how these are going to fit in context. There's a ton of other instruments that are going to be soaking up that low end. Let's just use these instruments for the energy and the most important purpose that they bring to the musical arrangement. Let's clear up some of these other things. First, I think these strings. These strings are pretty good, but there's a little bit of an imbalance here. I'm gonna take down some of the mid-range. Right, just draws a little bit more attention to the upper mids and the high end without it sounding so stuffy and clogged up in this mid-range area. We can rebalance because we removed a bunch of sonic energy. We can actually just push the overall level now. So this Prophet now adding some build up to the mid-range that I'm hearing. Yeah, right in here. Oh, since we did some like pretty drastic cuts, let's hear how that works out in the verse, right? It's a little bit more exposed in the verse. So I don't want to just like completely remove all of the body from this sound, but if it sounds good, it sounds good. So let's take a listen. Yeah, see, exactly. So in the verses, there's no bass happening in that verse to kind of like fill up the low end and fill up that energy. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm actually gonna split these tracks. I'm actually gonna call it Prophet verse, and then this one's gonna be Prophet chorus, right? So rather than automating a bunch of EQ moves, I'm just going to separate these regions, and then I'll process the tracks as needed. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. All right, so I'm pulling that down. So I've got chorus tracks that are going to be processed in this fashion. And then I've got verse tracks that are going to be processed in this fashion, letting a little bit more of that low end kind of come through, right? So right now what I want to do is kind of go through here and just kind of visually see where bass is going to enter the arrangement. So here, it's okay for me to let that low end through on the Prophet because there's no other kind of like bass instrumentation or anything like that stepping on its toes. Over here, same thing. You know, I like a little bit of a fuller sound there until the second half of this. Yeah. So those 808 toms are going to start to munch up the low end there. So there are a couple different ways that we can handle this. I know we haven't really brought in the bass elements yet, but this is hyper relevant to what we're working on right now. So I'm actually going to bring it in and just manage this relationship a little bit. So I'm going to add Track Spacer. This is a great plugin, super easy. If you guys haven't noticed at this point, I chose very simple, like straightforward plugins here. Most of the time, I just like to quick get in, get the job done, get out, right? So you're gonna notice that as we kind of like make our way through. For example, the saturation, right? Saturator, so very, very simple. I chose the 1176, not just for its character and its response and things like that, but look how simple it is. There's only a few knobs on this compressor. We don't get into things like knee and there's no like sidechaining features, or it doesn't get too complex here. The clipper, you know, there's only one slider here, and then you can change the clip type if you want to, but it's very, very simple. So we're keeping it simple today. That's the point. Back to Track Spacer. Basically what this does is it is a sidechaining dynamic EQ. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set the side chain. I'm gonna put this on the Prophet here, and I'm gonna sidechain it to listen to those 808 toms. So anytime those toms are present, it's gonna automatically duck the competing frequencies of the Prophet. And it's gonna show you this visually on this screen. Let's check it out. Right? So when those toms come in, you'll see it. Automatically ducking the competing frequencies on the Prophet so that we don't get all that congestion. Here's what it sounds like without it. Right? Huge difference. Clearing that up and making it nice and tight, not so washed out and sloppy and muddy. Let's dial that in even further. And we do have the option to kind of like restrict the frequencies and things like that, but in this case, it's automatically detecting them. We don't even have to go that detailed with it. We don't need that kind of control right now. I think that sounds good to me right there. Let's roll in from verse 2A to verse 2B to see how that catches the ear. You know, I want this to be pretty transparent. Pay attention to the low end. Sounds good to me. Not really noticeable that it's scooping out that low end on the Prophet when the 808s come in. Just sliding those pieces together. On our second Prophet track, which I labeled Pro-Pet. Okay. So what we could do here as an alternative, we could add a second instance of track spacer that will duck out the low end whenever the bass is present, right? But here's the thing. The bass is always going to be present through there. So really it's just a matter of preference. If you want to add 2 track spacers to a single track, you can do that. Or you can kind of chop things up and process them differently like this. I tend to go with this method most of the time because it's more visual and I could just quickly bring up the arrangement window and see what's going on. I can say, oh, okay, I separated this by verse part versus chorus part, and they're probably processed differently. Here's why, right? So it's just a matter of preference, matter of taste, however you want to do it, you do it. So let's move to this ascension part. Super important piece of this mix. So first of all, there's this like blip here, this transient that happens. We could use processing on it, or we can just do a quick little clip gain move, right? I actually like this note better. It's a little less abrasive. I think the velocity is just a little bit different, so it sounds like sharper. This one sounds softer. So I'm actually gonna grab just like the back half of that, and I'm gonna plug it in over here. And just kind of level that out just a touch. Still a little bit of a difference there, but not to the point where anybody's ever gonna notice in context. Right? That's not gonna be the thing that makes people shut off a song. So, perspective. All right, let's clear it up. Clears up so much energy. Woo. Me likey. I like where that's sitting. Synth accents. Ah, muddy. Oh, that rumble. So the point of this part is reinforce the call before the response. Bump, 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 right? Almost like a white noise happening there, which I think is cool. I'm not gonna get rid of that. I think it tickles the ear in a really nice way, and it can be very exciting, and it kind of helps elevate this chorus, right? Because if you take a look, chorus 1 doesn't have this part in it. Chorus 2, you know, this was added for very intentionally for that reason, to elevate the energy just a little bit. I'm gonna keep it in, and then I'm gonna remove it. You're gonna notice something's missing. Right? That's the powerful part of this track. That's what's bringing the energy. So now I'm curious, as an engineer, can I clear up all of this stuff in here and just use this track for its high-end energy? What does that do to the arrangement as a whole? Let's try it out. Let's play with that. Very interesting, right? Like, we're losing a lot of this fundamental, but we're keeping all of this fizzy noise. So then we have a decision to make. Are we gonna keep, you know, some of the fundamental of that? Is it useful to us? Is it audible? Does it contribute to the overall feeling of the track in a significant way? Or can we lose it and clear up that sonic space for something else? I mean, definitely, I would say definitely, at least up to here, because this is where our bass is going to live. This is where our kick lives, right? Let's do best of both worlds, just a more gradual slope. Sweet. We don't need that low end to create more energy and more impact. I think that's the lesson here, right? The tendency is like, okay, I want more power here or more energy here, so I'm going to push the low end and add more low end elements. That's not necessarily the case. You know, there's only so much room for all that low end. So we need to figure out ways in the production process to add sounds and instrumentation that raises and elevates the energy and creates more impact using this region and this region up here beyond the low end. Anyway, moving on. So this is starting to get a little bit throaty, this dread lead in this section, which makes sense. As I just look at the waveforms, I can tell the difference here in amplitude, right? So what happens when we just kind of bring that down, level that out with these waveforms here? Let's take a listen. I think the issue's happening in here. So these brass stabs, muddying up the mix. Let's manage it. Really depends on what register they're playing in, right? What notes they're playing. Because here, that section's a little bit more forgiving than this section where we get those low tubas. So I'm gonna do the same thing here with the track spacer, but instead of sidechaining it to like a bass instrument, I think I'm gonna duck it out of the way of the kick. Hear how that sounds. Now without. It's pulling that kick forward in the mix. Yep, that sounds good to me right there. Cool, moving on. The only thing that we haven't touched yet are these orchestral stabs. Oh yeah. Relationship-wise, let's see what's going on here. We've got, okay, so some kick drums. Yeah, I'd be willing to bet if we scooped out the low end there, nobody would miss it. the kick drum is hitting on each one of those hits, kind of occupying that space anyway. Let's see how much we can get away with. Awesome. Got an idea here to kind of help with these verse profits. Those bop, 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 bop. I want to exaggerate the transient a little bit more, so we're gonna do some slow attack compression. Just kind of get those to punch a little bit harder. So we've got a slow attack happening here, fast release. So that click, that's what I'm listening for. I'm just switching between ratios. Hear what I like. Let's do another one. That transient to poke through. Transient shaper would be perfect for this, but we're limiting ourselves today. Hear that click coming through now, right? Little bit more percussive. So just a couple compressors and serial. I don't feel the need to really add any reverb to any of this stuff. It's got wet effects already baked in, right? So, you know, all of these tracks. There's delay, reverb, right? Pretty wet already. Not really finding a need to pile any more on top of that. Keys, to add some saturation for some flavor. See what it does. Let's do tube saturation on this just for variety, right? So we did tape on the drums. Let's do tube on the keys. Just fattening that up a little bit with some saturation. And then I'm just gonna add some limiting. And all I wanna do is put a roof on it. Barely tap the peak so it doesn't get completely out of control. Just managing the dynamics. See, just like barely kind of kissing the limiter here on the loudest peaks. You can grab this for free too, guys. This Loudmax limiter. You can just Google Loudmax limiter, grab this thing. You know, super simple. This one's free. This saturator, that's free from bedroomproducersblog.com. You can search that. Also, free clip, right? This clipper that I'm using. This is free also. These are all things that you can download and use in your workflow right now, if you like. Yeah, and the reason I didn't use clipping for these keys is because clipping can be a little bit more aggressive, abrasive, and limiting can be a little bit more transparent. So I typically just use clipping for things like percussive elements and like high gain guitars, and then everything else I'll typically just kind of do limiting on. Not always, but typically, you know, most of the time. Really kind of depends on the scenario. Alrighty, let's do some bass. We've only got a couple bass tracks here. There it is, finally. Some body, some weight. So the first thing I want to do here is limit it, because right now it's kind of like fluctuating in and out of the arrangement. And you can even just tell by looking at the waveform. It starts quiet and then it kind of beefs up here, and then quiet and then beefs up, and then really quiet here and beefs up here, so on and so forth, right? And I typically just like a really solid low end. Before I go ahead and do this, I do want to just check out the vocal arrangement. So there might be a reason that this kind of ramps up and then goes down, ramps up and down. It might be pulling focus for a very specific reason, arrangement-wise. Right now with the lead vocals, it doesn't look like it. So according to the backing vocals, not really a reason, no. So no rhyme or reason, it's probably just the nature of the sound that was used in the production. And instead of a fluctuating bass that just goes, we're just gonna clamp down on the dynamics and make it nice and even throughout. Get all that. Right, and what I'm looking for here is a nice solid roof to our signal that doesn't fluctuate. It's just like, just pinned there. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. Nice, steady, solid. It's not like entering and exiting the arrangement. Let's check our analyzer. So a little bit of build up here at 70. And I think I'm gonna track space this out of the way for the kick. This is what our kick is doing, right? And it's kind of living primarily in the low end anyway. It's living around this 60 hertz. 60 to 80 hertz-ish, right? And then it kind of rolls off towards the end here. Which means we have this side of the low end of that kick to inject the bass, and then we also have this side of that kick to inject the bass. There are a few ways that we can tackle this. One of those ways is to just go to that bass and dip out this entire region, right? And carve out a little pocket for the kick drum to kind of live in. But I actually think it's a bit cleaner to go with track spacer on this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell track spacer, listen to the kick, and then I'm gonna use the filter to just target the competing area, which is about, let's say about 50 hertz to about 100 hertz. About there, right? So track spacer is only gonna be working in this area, and it's gonna leave these two areas alone, the areas on either side of that. Check it out. So that might be a little difficult to hear unless you have a sub or unless you got some headphones on. So this blue line is detecting where the kick is hitting, and then this white line is actually attenuating those frequencies. So even though we're seeing the blue line kind of stretch into this area here, it doesn't mean that we're attenuating any of those frequencies on the bass. I'm happy with that context. Just drums and bass. Just carving out space for that kick to punch right through in the low end. Cool. And I'm gonna use my references to really just kind of dial this bass in a little bit further, but for now, I think that's pretty good. The toms, let's take a listen to these. I'm gonna limit them, you know, and you can even see on the waveform here, we've got, you know, these peaks are kind of all inconsistent and all over the place. They're all hitting at the same level, nice and consistent. Let's bring in everything. A little bit of piano happening. Let's check out the low end on that piano versus the toms. A little bit of thump. So I'm actually just gonna use a shelf on that. And piano's getting a little lost there. So we're just gonna add some volume automation to that. That's where it gets lost. Bam, 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 bam. Bring that up. Bring it up a little bit more. And right there. We'll bring it up again. A little bit more of a gradual increase on that. Cool. Now let's listen for these 808 toms in this section. Yeah, a little bit sloppy. Use track spacer on that one as well. And I'm just gonna copy over the settings from the dark bass, just targeting, as a reminder, just targeting the area that the kick is present. Good enough. Some bus processing here. Let's see what some saturation does. I tend to like tape on bass. And the reason you're hearing pumping there is because it's because of track spacer ducking it out of the way for the kick. And let's toss a limiter on it. Put a roof on it. Sure it doesn't get out of control. See, just barely touching the limiter. Cool. All right, let's dive into some lead vocals here. We're gonna start at the top and get a sense for what's going on here.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
I'm hearing a few things here. I gotta write them down. Low end, like there's some plosives happening here. Dynamic control, right? If we want that up front, kind of polished vocal sound, we need to control the dynamics a little bit more here. Some boxiness happening here, like boxiness or muddiness. Before we do any of that, I'm just gonna bounce this all of these volume automation changes and clip gain automation. I'm gonna bounce that in place. I don't want to bypass the effects plugins. I want to bake those in. Awesome. Much better. And I just deleted the old track. If you want to be less destructive than that, you can just mute it and hide it. Let's get that rhythm, that rumble out of there.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me.
There's that boxiness.
Got too friendly with my fears. Got too friendly with my fears.
I'm gonna add some de-essing here. I like to kind of aim for around no more than 4 decibels of gain reduction on sibilants, on S's and stuff like that, because eventually it'll turn it into a lisp, right?
Took some notes.
Right, if I just crank this,
Took some notes.
it sounds silly. So it's really just kind of a light hand. It's a delicate dance. Just find the sweet spot.
Notes. Took some notes.
Not too bad. Dial it back just a little.
Took some notes.
About 2 decibels. Cool. Let's grab some of these peaks with some limiting.
Took some notes. Got a new perspective. Changed my approach.
See, just on these highest peaks, we're just kind of squishing those down, make it a little bit more consistent. We're gonna start with fast attack compression, and then we're going to kind of like find a sweet spot here in the attack. And I'll explain that in just a second. First, let's dial it in to about, I don't know, 3 decibels gain reduction, see what we can do.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach. Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, Took some notes.
Bring back the output.
Got too friendly. Got too friendly. Got too friendly.
Right, just squeezing the dynamics a little bit more. I actually like what it's doing with a fast attack. Let's experiment a little bit. The more you slow down the attack, the more it'll allow the transients to cut through before the compressor clamps down on the back half of the waveform, right? The back half of the signal. So what that means for a vocal is the beginnings of words and usually consonants and any kind of transients will sound slightly more aggressive the slower the attack is. So the slower the attack, the more they'll kind of like pop forward. The faster the attack, the more they'll be controlled, right? And with this amount of gain reduction, this is a very, very subtle difference. So it's a matter of taste here.
Got too friendly with my fears. Got too friendly. Got too friendly. Got too friendly.
I actually like them more controlled. I'm just going to leave them on a fast attack.
Got too.
I'm not going to rabbit hole on that.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
Yeah, just maybe a little bit of a steeper cut here on this 400-ish.
Got too friendly with my fears.
Let's clean up this section right here. Just kind of sculpting this vocal, making it sound a little less stuffy.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books.
Hear the difference there?
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
Just clean it up, this stuffiness, like some of this mud here, and allowing this upper mid-range to kind of like shine through. It's just rebalancing the vocal, basically tilting it brighter without all that gross stuffiness. Few more things with this vocal. I want to experiment with a little bit of parallel compression. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this vocal and then I'm going to LV verse X for parallel. So everything's the same except I'm going to dial in some compression settings. Here we go. So I've got a second vocal here now, duplicate, same exact thing as the first.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
So now that's smashed. We're just gonna blend that in to a point where that vocal's sounding nice and upfront and thick and exciting. A little bit more detail maybe. Let's see what it sounds like.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
Okay, hear the difference there? Right, we've got kind of a thicker vocal, a little bit more detail, seems a little bit closer. First without.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective.
Now the only thing that sounds like an issue to me is we are adding in a little bit of low mid grossness. So we're gonna clear it up.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
Right, so just the parallel track was a little bit muddy.
Got too friendly, got too friendly.
Right, too many of those boxy, muddy frequencies. So I pulled those out and I'm gonna rebalance this now because we've actually pushed the volume up a little bit.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
So what I'm gonna do here with this DT is I'm gonna copy these channel strip settings and just add it. Paste them in here. You know, no need to overcomplicate it.
Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
I'm actually gonna tighten that up just a touch.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books.
I'm taking out some of the more of the high end.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back.
No, it's actually bothering me in the beginning. So maybe I mute it just here.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back.
Let it come in here.
Another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
Cool. Let's check out this next low octave.
Now mistakes are in a different light. Not afraid, got nothing to lose.
Sweet. So it must have been the room that this was recorded in, or sometimes it's the mic choice and mic positions, recording technique, things like that. But we've got quite a bit of kind of energy sitting here just across the vocals. I know this is an artificial low, but still, I mean, with these vocals, the lead verse and the double, we were still seeing some build up in that mid-range. So just something to be aware of as we continue to tackle these vocals.
Not afraid, got nothing to lose.
Living life,
Cool. Let's clean those up.
not afraid, got nothing to lose.
And what I'm going to do with all of these backing vocals is really just smash them with some limiting. Let's do low first.
Not afraid, got nothing to lose.
I get really aggressive with dynamics processing on like backing vocals and stacks and things like that, simply because they are there to supplement the lead vocal, right? They're not as exposed. They're a part of a greater picture. So you can get away with kind of processing them a little bit more aggressively. And I'm just going to copy those settings over to our high vocal. Let's see how that works.
Not afraid, got nothing to lose. Living life with nothing to prove.
Makes them easier to place in the mix here too.
Not afraid, got nothing to lose. Living life with nothing to prove.
We've got some more harmonies in here that we're probably going to treat the same way. Don't need to overcomplicate it. I'm just going to copy these settings over.
None on earth.
Fine.
Unstoppable, made up mind. New goals, brand new drive.
Let's get it.
Okay, so these are actually sitting brighter. So I'm going to actually bring them down.
Unstoppable, made up mind. New goals, brand new drive.
Let's get it.
Still not feeling quite right to me. So I'm going to filter these down on both sides and just going to kind of give it a more gradual slope.
Up mind. New goals, brand new drive.
Let's rebalance these. I don't like that they're sitting up here. I kind of want them to sit more down here. They're sticking out too much, basically. You know, they're fighting too much in the upper mids. I don't want to kill it completely, but again, there's a sweet spot to be had somewhere in here. Just bear with me. And the only thing that's bothering me about those is right there.
Up mind. New goals, brand new drive.
Let's get it.
Up mind. New goals, brand new drive.
Let's get it.
I'm happy with that. I'm going to go way aggressive with the de-essing on the backing vocals only. Okay, not the lead. The lead, you know, if you go super aggressive with de-essing, it'll give the lead a lisp. On backing vocals, you know, I tend to actually just go aggressive on them. You can, because they're kind of sitting in the background, right? And all of those crisp S's and T's and consonants and things like that, they're coming from the lead, right? So in this scenario, I'm going to go ahead and aggressively de-ess the backing vocals.
You receive the fruit of hard work.
It sounds kind of funky in solo, but once we stick that in context, it's a little bit better in the mix.
Not afraid, got nothing to lose. Living life with nothing to prove.
I think we can actually bring a little bit more character to that, so let's saturate it.
Nothing to lose. Living life with nothing to. Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
I don't want to bring in too much of that boxiness that I took out already, so again, just finding the sweet spot, delicate dance. We're actually adding harmonic content here, so we want to make sure that we're kind of balancing it well and we're not pushing it over the top and creating a bunch of buildup in the mid-range.
Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach. Now mistakes are in a...
So a little bit of body. We're adding a little bit of body there. I'm going to back off just a little bit more.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes.
Okay, now we're going to add a little bit of excitement to the top end.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
Listen in context.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
Hear the difference? A little bit more exciting, a little bit crispier, also a little bit more body. There's something just a little bit magical about saturation, right? Adding that pleasing harmonic content.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
Just helps lift this vocal up and almost kind of thickens it, makes it seem a little bit wider, a little bit bigger, right? A little bit more intimate, a little bit vibier. All those fun adjectives us audio engineers like to use. Yep, just going to scoop out a little bit more on this parallel. That's what's kind of making it a little bit stuffy.
Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach. Now mistakes are in a different light.
There it is. Me likey. Let's add some space to this. I'm gonna grab all of these and just set up a little bit of routing. So I've got my wet effects already set up. I've got a short reverb already set up. I've got a long reverb already set up. Short delay. I've got a long delay already set up. We can tweak those as needed. So what I'm gonna do here is add a little bit of reverb to this lead vocal, bring in a subtle sense of space, place it in a space, right? More felt than heard kind of deal. Let's dial this in.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
Let's tone shape that a little bit.
Now
A little bit bright, a little bit slappy.
got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my... Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
Cool. And again, just kind of like watching out for this mud range. Gonna carve that out, just tone shape the reverb a little bit. Something else I want to do here is kind of tighten up the decay time on that reverb. I think it's a little bit too long for the purpose for which I'm kind of dialing it in.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
There it is. And I'm gonna crank up the pre-delay.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach. Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
Nice. And solo?
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
Just kind of putting it in a very small space. I'm gonna dial it back even further. Again, it just needs to be more felt than heard.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back.
Cool. I'm happy with that. Let's experiment with some longer verb.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
Yeah, definitely not with the high end there. Copy over those settings.
Got too friendly.
So this is a verb with just a longer decay. Around, I don't know. Let's see. 2 seconds maybe? 1.5?
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach. Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
Okay, gonna tone shape that a little bit because the high end is bugging me on the reverb.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
And I'm gonna track space that with the lead vocal bus. So anytime there's signal coming from that bus, it'll duck this longer verb.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective.
It's a little too much. It's a cool effect, but I don't think it's right for this song.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books.
Now let's just dial this in. Delicate dance here, just doing this based on taste.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
I like where that's sitting. Let's experiment with some delay, see if we can make this pop a little bit more. So I've got a short delay, 16th note, ping pong. So it's bouncing back and forth from speaker to speaker.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
All right, so let's add some filters here. I'm gonna filter it out to 400, cutting out the lows up to 400-ish. And then cutting down the highs on the delay to about 6.
Got too friendly with my fears.
I like that ping pong because it makes it sound nice and wide. It's really interesting to the ear. So let's dial that in to a spot that I like it.
Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
Let's play with some long delay.
Got too friendly with my fears.
Let's turn down the feedback.
Got too friendly with my fears.
Not sure if ping pong's the right move here.
Got too friendly with my.
Let's do a spread, and this just kind of staggers it just slightly.
It held me back another year.
Turn up the feedback a little bit more. And we're gonna use some filters again, kind of make it a little bit darker sounding. Track space that. I am going to aggressively DS the signal going into that delay track. I'm just gonna crank it all the way so we don't get any sibilance on the delays.
Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
Nice. I like where that vocal is sitting. Really nice space around that. Really kind of like a lot of fun kind of ear candy on those delays and reverbs, making it interesting to listen to, sucking the listener into the mix.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year.
This point calls for some automation. In verse 1A, there's not a whole ton of instrumentation happening. This is where the vocal is most exposed. So we have plenty of opportunity to fill in the gaps with some reverbs and delays, a whole bunch of wet effects. But then, once more vocals kind of come into the arrangement, more instruments come into the arrangement, we start to lose all those interesting wet effects. So I'm actually going to increase the volume of those so they can be heard a little bit more inside of this verse 1B. And I'm going to do that with automation. We want to do ascend level. So just in this section here, we're going to bring the level up. We're also going to increase the level of the reverb here. Let's roll into that second part of the verse 1B.
Got a new perspective, changed my approach. Now mistakes are in a different light. Being wrong helps me get it right.
I'm going to copy these settings to these vocals.
Not afraid, got nothing to lose. Living life.
I'm gonna put a limiter on the bus to make sure that this doesn't go wackadoo in terms of dynamics.
Now mistakes are in a different light. Being wrong helps me get.
You know, when all of those vocals kind of stack up, just the signal goes, right? So we want to kind of control that. Let's see what happens. So I'm thinking kind of like bring these vocals in and out of the arrangement.
There's a feeling like none on earth.
I was gonna say this vocal needs a little bit more power. It's because I muted the parallel track. So let's unmute that and just mute the DT and low octave.
There's a feeling like none on earth.
There it is.
When you receive the fruit of hard work. Unstoppable, made up mind. New goals, brand new drive.
Sweet. All right, let's get these chorus vocals bopping.
I'm gonna be a better version of me.
I'm not gonna overcomplicate it. I'm gonna start by just grabbing this chain that we used in the verse. The only difference here is that we don't have a parallel track on that lead vocal. I'm gonna take those settings, copy those over, paste them into our doubles, and I wanna glue those together. So I'm actually gonna bust those. I'm gonna call that lead vocal chorus bus. Color code it the way I like it. Bring it to the right output. Now we can process this as a group. Fast attack, fast release, just gluing these together, just experimenting with the ratio, kind of dialing this in to a point where I like it. It's doing this just based on taste and intuition.
Gonna be a better version of me. Gonna be a better version of me.
Right there, I like it. Make sure we don't peak.
Gonna be a better version of me.
She's barely touching the limiter, just putting a little bit of a roof on it. Let's do spatial processing on that. It needs a lot more wetness.
I'm gonna be a better version of me.
This can use just some volume automation. Just bring it down to Desi.
I'm gonna be a better version of me.
Right, because B was just like too much.
I'm gonna be.
And I think there is a sweet spot to be had, so we'll just kind of dial this in a little bit. And right here, I think the word me just needs to come up a little bit.
I'm gonna be a better version of me.
Nice, there it is, right there. Let's take those and copy them over to the next time that actually happens. I actually think it's a little too bright, and a little bit of tone shaping.
I'm gonna be a better version of me.
I'm just gonna crank the delay on this, play a little bit more with some wet effects.
I'm gonna be a better.
Go, go. All right, let's dive into these rap vocals.
Look, I love me, but I'ma be a better version regardless of all the hardships that surface.
Just clean it up.
I love me, but I'ma be a better version regardless of all the hardships that surface. Focus, build strength and endurance. Feeling pressure, you're a diamond, it's worth it. Change my ways, I'm humanly imperfect. I fall short, but my faith keep working. I thank God for his.
So definitely need some de-essing.
I love me, but I'ma be a better version regardless. Working. I thank God for his love. I'm submerged and grounded, though I'm surrounded with deterrent.
Let's squeeze it with some limiting. Take care of some of those taller peaks.
Build strength and endurance. Feeling pressure, you're a diamond. It's
Sweet. Squeeze it a little bit more, add a little bit of character.
I love me, but I'ma be a better version regardless of all the hardships that surface. Focus, build strength and endurance. Feeling pressure, you're a diamond, it's worth it. Change my ways, I'm humanly imperfect. I fall short, but my faith keeps working. I thank God for his love. I'm submerged and grounded, though I'm surrounded.
Yeah, definitely gonna want some parallel on this for all that detail. So just duplicating, 20-to-1 ratio.
I love me, but I'ma be a better version regardless of all the hardships that surface. Focus, build strength and endurance. Feeling pressure, you're a diamond, it's worth it.
Then we're gonna blend that to taste in context.
I love me, but I'ma be a better version regardless of all the hardships that surface. Focus, build strength and endurance. Feeling pressure, you're a diamond, it's worth it.
Yes, right up front, right? I'm gonna add a little bit more de-essing because her S's are pretty harsh. So I'm gonna do another layer of de-essing here.
That surface, focus, build strength and endurance.
Just clean this up a little bit more. The mids.
I love me, but I'ma be a better version regardless of all the hardships that surface. Focus, build strength and endurance. Feeling pressure, you're a diamond, it's worth it. Change my ways, I'm humanly imperfect. I fall short, but my faith keeps working. I thank God for his love, I'm submerged and grounded, though I'm surrounded with deterrents. Nah, I ain't gonna lie. Some of my mistakes took me a couple times. Had to get away, had to rewind. I continue to pray, cause his word don't lie. Times, had to get away, had to rewind. I continue to pray, cause his word don't lie. I know it gets hard sometimes, but the world needs you to say yes to your assignment. I love me, but I'ma be a better version regardless of all the hardships that surface. Focus, build strength and endurance. Feeling pressure, you're a diamond, it's worth it.
Much better. Just gonna get a little bit more aggressive with the EQ on the parallel.
I love me, but I'ma be a better version regardless of all the hardships that surface. Focus, build strength and endurance.
Add a little bit of saturation on the parallel track.
Nah, I ain't gonna lie. Some of my mistakes took me a couple times. Had to get away, had to rewind. I continue to pray, cause his word don't lie.
Sweet. Just dialing in a little bit of space, more felt than heard.
I love me, but I'ma be a better version regardless of all the hardships that surface. Focus, build strength and endurance. Feeling pressure, you're a diamond, it's worth it.
Let's get some of these ad-libs in.
Keeps working. Had to get away, had to rewind. I continue to pray, cause his word don't lie. I know it.
Yep, just gonna clean that up. A little bit of build-up happening. And then we're gonna smash it with some limiting so it's nice and up front.
Feeling pressure, you're a diamond, it's worth it. Change my ways, I'm humanly imperfect. I fall short, but my faith keeps working.
De-essing on that ad-lib.
That surface.
And just gonna carry some of those over to the next ad-lib. Not gonna overcomplicate it, just let it ride. I'm gonna take down that little chunk and then bring up everything. Good. So let's take a look at this part.
Word don't lie. I know it gets hard sometimes, but the word don't lie. I know it gets hard sometimes, but the word needs you to say yes to your assignment. Yeah.
That needs to come up just because it's a dope part and I want it to come up a little bit. Just add some interest. Bring it up.
I know it gets hard sometimes. Pray, cause his word don't lie. I know it gets hard sometimes, but the word needs you to say yes to your assignment. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted that to be a little bit louder. Draws the listener in. It's just such a cool part. When she sings, it needs to be a little bit gooier, right? When she raps, it's cool for it to be like super tight like that. But I think we can use just a little bit of flavor, a little bit of seasoning here on that vocal. So let's automate some long reverb in.
A better version of me.
A little bit of long delay here too.
A better version of me.
Last little edit that I'm gonna make here on this vocal. Bring up the tail end of that word.
A better version of me.
That works for me. Cool, let's dive into these backing vocals here. So instead of going through and processing each one of these, I'm gonna process this directly on the bus. First thing I'm gonna do, clear up any unnecessary low end. All right, so we got some rumble happening there. Next is some dynamic control. Gonna use some limiting directly on the bus. Crunch down on these. Yep. It's pretty good. Wet effects, some spatial processing here. I'm gonna dial this in context. Clean them up. Bit too much on the highest one there, so I'm gonna bring that down, just kind of rebalance. Oh, that's not the right one. I want control of those super high vocals, so I'm gonna do some creative editing here. We're gonna chop this stuff out. We're gonna swap those high chunks for the low chunks. So these two are gonna go to their own tracks. All right, try again. So now these are on a separate track, so I can have more control over those. All of these are flown. These are the same exact parts, just copied and pasted. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing here. Copy and paste these. And then there's that. Yep. Cool. Super easy. And now these are just too loud. So we're gonna clip gain them down. Yeah, just some, inconsistencies here that we're gonna address very quickly. What about these whispers? Let's take a look at these whispers. And just process the bus. I'm gonna start by just carrying over the same settings from the backing vocals. All right, so we've got some cleanup work happening here. I'm gonna lift that for now and just kind of assess the situation.
A better version of
Just get rid of all those plosives.
a better version of me.
Just really gonna crush it.
A better version of me.
Perfect.
A better version of me.
Okay, let's make those whispers like a little bit more tickly with some saturation.
A better version of me.
A little bit in a space. Not sure if it's gonna work or not. Let's try it. Cool.
A better version of me.
Sweet. Let's go to this ad-lib chorus. So no real low-end issues there. The obvious issues are the dynamics ones. Sweet. Let's get her a little bit further into the back of the mix by just taking down the high end. Cool. Clean up some of the buildup. And then we're gonna just drench that in reverb. Take another look at our references, see where we're sitting. After this point, it's kind of a game of final adjustments, right? Final tweaks. I would typically listen through this track like once. I would write down a bunch of notes, things that kind of pop out at me, either issues that I want to fix or areas of opportunity for enhancement. I would just kind of like collect a punch list while I'm listening through. And when I'm done with the listen through, I would just kind of go into the DAW and address those items on the punch list one by one. And then I would do that again. And then I would do that again. Usually 3 rounds of like final adjustments, final tweaks, things like that. Sometimes more, sometimes less. Really kind of depends on the scenario. Let's listen to this track, just the chorus, with and without processing. First without. Let's take a listen to before and after in this verse section.
Got too friendly with my fears. It held me back another year. Read some books, took some notes, got a new perspective, changed my approach.
So hopefully this session was helpful and you've come away with a better understanding of mixing. If you want to check out another full mixing session, just follow the link in the description. That's all for now. We'll see you in the next one.